fastest growing companies worldwide. The teacher has found the secret sauce. And Leo's going to share some of that secret sauce with us right now. Come on up here. Leo Rastogi.
I remember when the world was simpler, clouds were only in the sky, big data was a band out of Brooklyn, New York. I'm not kidding you, they have great techno music. Twitter was a sound, and enterprise mobility meant something completely different. If you said enterprise mobility, I would think of a GT500 Ferrari, or I would think of a Porsche 911 Carrera, or I would think of the BAT Mobile. But we've all been disrupted. Disrupted by all this jargon, disrupted by this emerging paradigm that sometimes even those of us who are dyed-in-the-wool gray in the industry don't always know how to make sense out of it. But you don't need me to tell you that, right? You probably can write the whole Bible about this stuff. Oh, by the way, that's the Batmobile I was talking about. But there's something really interesting that's begun to happen about this disruption. The business has got disrupted. The CEO is under pressure from the board. The CFO wants to cut your budget. Marketing organization wants to break the bank with all this digital marketing spend. And you, as the CIO, have to invent some kind of doohickey, wave the magic wand, and make it all work. Wow. This is deep blue hero stuff. How many of you identify with that? You gotta fix it all. The marketing didn't see what was coming. The CEO was doing his thing, he was doing his best, but he didn't see the paradigm shift, and now you gotta be the savior. Well, it's a job, we gotta do it. Now, some of my CIO friends say that what's so new about disruptions? Disruptions have always been there. One thing that you can always count on about the technology industry is whatever is the status quo today, it's gonna change tomorrow. But there are two things that are very, very special and very, very unique about the times that we are living in. This disruption, the pace is unprecedented. The new technology, the new business models, the shifting global marketplace, an economy that is unpredictable, it is coming at us at a pace that we never anticipated. So the pace is unprecedented. Gone are the days where a generation of technology lasted a decade or even half a decade. Today, you have to run really, really fast to stay exactly where you are, both as a CIO and a CEO, I mean, to be fair to them. The second aspect of this disruption, which is also very, very unique, is that we are being disrupted along multiple dimensions. Our customers are changing the way they buy. Our customers are changing the way they interact with us, be it mobility or be advent of social media. How we communicate and collaborate with our peers, with our suppliers, is all changing at the same time. So in these times of flux, it becomes extremely challenging on how to make sense out of both the pace of change and the change coming at us from all directions. And this, my friends, does make it unprecedented. Now, while this unprecedented change is catching us on our front foot or on our back foot, some of our age-old problems haven't really gone away. Now, what do these disruptions really mean? Typically, when a new technology would come in, you would forward integrate your existing systems and upgrade your systems. Now, if you're in an industry which relies on e-commerce, or you're in an industry that relies on retail trade, etc., you have to begin to deal with the paradigm shift head on. You can no longer build an application and build a mobile interface to it, because the customers are demanding highly adaptive, highly contextual systems. You really have to think mobile first. Cloud has been a blessing, but it has also been a great leveler in the marketplace. Leveraging the enterprise architecture of the cloud, the services, the way they're delivered and consumed, have been democratized than ever before. And you can't simply take the entire application portfolio you had and put it all onto the cloud. it requires fundamental rethink in how you build systems, how you roll them out, iterative deployment, deployment for agility, and scale. I have clients where they publish code 3 times a week. When I graduated from college, release cycles were 6 months, 9 months. And I remember going to this training program where they were going to teach us, Bill Curtis was leading the program, they were going to teach us agile system development, and it was going to reduce the time from 9 months to 3 months. If I talk about a 3-month release cycle to my CIO friends, they usually tell me, you got to be kidding. Because the marketplace is shifting so fast that they don't want you to preach them, as one of our friends pointed out, about best practices. They want you to respond to what they need in their business right now. And while all of this is happening, it's not as if what kept us awake at night before has disappeared. We still have the challenge of responding to market requirements faster. One of my CIO friends pointed out to me, Leo, we got a problem. What's the problem? My marketing group wants to set up its own vendor relationships because they need new products faster than my internal IT can deliver it. Now, I can't engineer overnight to become an agile solution provider. It's not my business. I understand my business. What can you do to solve it? Did you ever have a year where your CFO walked up and said, Mr. or Ms. CIO, here is $5 million extra that I just had lying somewhere, and you know what? You can blow it on any new technology marvel that you want to create. So there is one thing about cost. Year on year, it goes up, and you need to bring it down. Climbing the mountain never rests. It's never gonna work all out. Now with these challenges, isn't this deep blue hero stuff in your jobs every day? Yes or no? Or are we all modest here in Dallas? Well, I'm from Houston. We usually say, yeah, pal, you got it. This is deep blue hero stuff. Now, while we do all of that, one of the challenges that I've seen, and I mean, which got pointed out, like I said, that's the reason why I use the Why CIO panel. A lot of it is about making sense of what is really happening. What is truly software, and what is ideaware, and what is all fluff and vaporware, and which is good to have, it's never going to work. So the way we've approached this problem in working with our clients and partners is that one of the greatest value add that we try and add is the advice piece. So we put the value chain of advice, enable, and extend. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of success stories just in a minute, but just to give you a context of how they are organized is, advice is a piece when you have some new jargon. You know, like I showed you, big data is no longer a band, and it becomes something you must have. And even your board, who cannot spell it, wants to talk about it, wants to know about it. We work routinely with our CIOs to first make sense out of what does cloud really mean, and have an iterative process where we can work what does it really mean to their business and their industry, not what does it mean to Amazon producing $5 billion of revenue out of it last year. So advice piece allows us to really understand the soul of your business and also make sense of the disruption for you. Now, if you're at a place where you've understood the paradigm, however, you're not an expert in getting it to work for you, that's the enable piece, where we can partner with you after you've already understood what this disruption means, how can you deploy it, and actually bring you what was quoted in the last presentation as SME, subject matter experts that listen to you and, believe it or not, follow instructions. Of course, there's an advice component to always trying to avoid some blind spot, but for most part, that is how we augment as a force multiplier after you have a vision of how you're going to champion this disruption to go out and actually get it to work for you. And finally, the extend piece. Extend piece is where you probably already have the capacity and the capability, but you need scalability, either in your capacity or in your capability. That's how we usually work with our CIO friends and in helping deal with this extremely challenging environment. And we do a lot of that work using open source. The reason why we use open source, and I'm going to touch about that in a little bit, is because, see, today open source has become ubiquitous. Now, nobody wants to go up and say, listen, I want to buy $5 million worth of open source. They will always say, I want to buy faster time to market, or I want to buy a lower TCO, or I want my application to be really, really secure. And open source addresses both the issue of ownership of your intellectual property, the issue of building a secure system, that does not have proprietary issues with it, as well as the ability to integrate the best of the breed solutions. And today, from the watch that you're wearing, to the phone you're using, to when you use Google, open source is present everywhere. It's no longer something new. It is really woven into the fabric of what you want to do. But like I say, the proof of the pudding is in eating. So let me spend the next few minutes talking to you about 3 specific case studies where we've added value to the enterprise through our advise, enable, and extend methodology. The first one, in fact, they just moved their headquarters to Dallas. I don't know if anybody here from Exalta in the audience? No, it would have been great if we had a customer here in the audience. So Exalta was a business, it's a $4.5 billion business, being spun off from a $20 billion DuPont business. They had forever been a part of the DuPont IT organization. When they were being spun out, this is what the CFO told them. They have to pay DuPont $250,000 a day. Let me repeat that. For shared IT services, $250,000 a day, till the time they get their own organization up and running. Now you have the challenge of a business that's taking birth, so all the birthing pains are there. And then you have this fat bill. So this is where really the ability to understand the business, to cut through the noise, make sense out of what they need, what they don't need, what will get them to the market fastest when the clock is ticking at the rate of $250,000 every 24 hours. So the way we work with Exalta is we demystified everything that they did not understand in the IT organization they inherited from DuPont. We re-engineered for them what they did not need, got their budget to 1/10 of what they had originally projected, and got it delivered on time. The key, while we did the whole process turnkey, but what made the difference, this is what the CIO Drew told me later on, was the advice piece that you provided us helped us make decisions about what we are going to do much quicker. And being vendor neutral, we had no axe to grind with that process. The second example I want to give you is of a website which is one of the top 4 travel sites in the world. It's called Make My Trip. Now, you can imagine if it is one of the top 4 travel sites in the world, it's got to obviously have internal capability in e-commerce, internal capability in building content systems. However, what had happened was they did what they knew. So over a period of few years, while the business listed on NASDAQ and they took over the world, they did not pay enough attention to building the portfolio of their applications. And they had homegrown legacy systems. And they needed to make this giant leap from systems that somehow work with each other to this new highly responsive e-commerce platform, which is going to give Priceline and Orbit a run for its money. Then they worked with us to do that. We engineered a system, again using open source technology, which provided them the ability to serve over 3 million pages a day at less than 2-second response time with all different types of content. But what made the difference with them was, first we sat down and understood with them what is the future of content, which is going to drive their business. So they're not skating to where the puck is, but where the puck will be in 2016, which is when they will break into the top 2 travel sites in the world, as per their projection. And finally, an example that is really close to my heart about CU Solutions, a customer that we tremendously enabled. Now, CU Solutions is a customer that is in the business of providing services to more than 5,000 credit unions. Now, when they're providing service to 5,000 credit unions, what's their core business? Building products and services that credit unions can consume. That means they have to have IT engineering capability right at the core of their business, because that is what gives them competitive advantage that is sustainable over a period of time. So we work with them where we've created a dedicated team for them, which has developed the capability to understand the core business and ideate along with the leadership team about what the credit unions will require in future. So we not only work with our customer, but we work with our customer's customer to add sustainable competitive advantage to their system. And what the CIO friend told me, and I wish I can get him on video to say this to you. He said, Leo, what I love best about working with you is you got me a seat on the table in creating the future direction of the company like I never had before, by enabling us with the capacity to create new products and services on the fly, which is core to their business. But anyhow, and I have lots of success stories. I can go on talking about it. But the most important thing is, what can we do for you? Well, in one line, if I was to say what our mission is, I personally believe the CIO's job in the times of flux today is really like a superhero. You know, you really require deep blue superhero stuff to make sense of all the disruption and the pace of change that you have. And we would love to partner with you in the journey. If any of these are on your priority for 2015, we are the right guys to talk to you about this one, and hopefully we can add some value to you. Well, thank you.